our relationship meant that much to you, you little piece of shit.
Yeah, there should be like a legal like mourning period.
Yeah, legit. It's like...
Hello, welcome back to Sextras,
where we talk about sex and all the extras.
I'm Honey and I'm single now.
Woohoo! Hot girl summer.
Yes, hot girl summer.
We actually have been saying how Honey's gonna have a hot girl summer. We've been making plans about who she's gonna shag. It's all happening.
Oh yeah, they're trying to pimp me out.
Yeah, literally.
We went to the park last week. And Maria and another one of our friends were just like, okay, let's make a list of all the people. I was like, okay.
Yeah, but we gotta
cool.
get on it. I love how I'm saying we.
We, as if you're gonna be there with me.
Yeah.
You're like living vicariously through me.
Yeah, literally, like I'm so excited you're single. Like finally, literally all our friends were coupled up for a while, but there's 2 single people now. Great times. I would fully support it.
Yeah.
If I could join, but also like hopefully I won't be joining anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how like all our friends are like, oh, I'm so jealous, but then they're like, but I want to marry my boyfriend. So actually, no, I'm not. And I'm like,
Literally.
okay.
Literally.
No. Anyway, introduce yourself and then let's continue.
So sorry. Hi guys, I'm Maria and I'm not single and I'm in London right now. I'm with my parents, living it up in London. Yeah, I have separation anxiety from my boyfriend. So.
Oh yeah, you really majorly do. The other day she was like, honey, it's been 4 days, I just really miss dick. I was like, literally, fuck you. Do you know how long it's been since I had sex?
Yeah, I'm literally so ridiculous. But we all have our trauma.
Live your truth.
Live your truth, live your trauma.
Yeah, but okay, recently I've been getting so freaked out, just to go back to this whole like wanting to marry your boyfriend thing and also having separation anxiety, because I am convinced, and my mom and my stepdad think I'm going insane, that we are like in the prime stages of our lives where we could possibly meet the people that we will spend the rest of our lives with. And
well, I feel like it's coming up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, these are the last stages, but we're missing out on like prime friendship single girl time because of COVID, and also because everyone's in relationships.
Yeah, so true.
So yeah, I've been getting really freaked out about that, because I kind of have always thought that so many people meet the people that they're gonna like marry at university, and my mom thinks that like it's not really like that anymore, and like it's probably less like that, but still, you're like, even if you don't go to university or you meet someone just after, like we're in that stage now, like we're in real life. And I was talking to one of my oldest friends last night, and she was saying people she know have been having kids and like getting engaged.
Oh my god, my cousin was telling me, I'm like, what? That's insanity. Like, to me it still seems like in ages.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's not actually going to be that long until we like all start having kids. And I'm just not ready. Like, I can't even watch Sex and the City where they like have kids without like getting super emotional and being like, oh my god, like my friend is having a baby.
It's still in a while, don't worry.
I have like FOMO for the future.
Oh god. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Actually.
So that's where I'm at right now. Like, my life is just kind of tinged with this, like, but what if this happens? But what if this happens? So life is going well.
the impending doom of us, like, growing up, basically.
Yeah, basically. I literally cannot stop thinking about growing up.
I don't really want to think about it too much. It kind of makes me feel a bit sick in the stomach.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why I've been like, as I said last week or the week before, going through some stuff. Because I just like, I always think of things that have happened recently and I'm like, wow, that was like a really pivotal moment in my life. And because obviously we're about to graduate and it literally just feels like we only just started university.
That's crazy. It literally feels like we just started. I don't understand how it's over already. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and those are like key moments in your life, like really big moments, starting uni, graduating uni, moving out, and it's just all going too fast.
True, I don't want to start real life yet, it's too scary.
Yeah, I'm like clinging on to something that will mean I'm still like a child. I mean, obviously, we have so much life to live, but I don't know, just going a bit insane basically.
Okay, should we get on to the topic before we keep having an existential crisis?
Let's move on to the fun part. This week we're talking about breakups and heartbreak. Well, I feel like we should preface this by saying, you know, obviously this episode was inspired by my breakup, as I stated in my fun fact at the beginning. And we've left it a while. I think some of you probably picked up on the fact that I've been hinting at it for like the last 2 months. But yeah, so I'm single now, and we're not gonna get too much into like the actual details of what went down, but we are gonna cover like the feelings behind it. Like that's what we want to focus on, and like the difficulties that are actually relatable to people. Like I could sit here and tell you everything that happened, but it's really not that interesting. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like we can sort of talk about it in the ways that it needs to be talked about, but
yeah. So for the segment, we asked you guys to tell us about your worst breakups. And the first one is that they got dumped and kicked out 2 days into a psych ward stay for postnatal depression.
Fuck.
That's really rough and like fucked up. That's so fucked up.
Yeah. That's horrible.
I don't know how anyone could do that. That's so horrible. That is a really bad breakup. Okay, next one.
Okay, someone said, mine wasn't even a bad breakup, but it still makes my head hurt all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It do hit like that sometimes, you know?
I mean, I feel like all breakups are bad in their own way, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
The next one is that they got replaced 2 days after the breakup. Again, not cool.
Rough.
Very not cool.
Not cool.
No. And then
the next one is right person, wrong time. Aww.
Yeah, that's sad.
Does that hit hard, hun?
That does hit. Very sad. But I was listening to something the other day and it was like, that doesn't, like, right person, wrong time doesn't exist. I can't remember what they were saying, but it was like, if it was like the right person, there would be no wrong time or something like that. Or like, I don't know, I can't remember, but I kind of see what they mean.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of agree with that a little bit. But that's like with my whole, you know, the one right person complex, you know? I feel like if it's
I
right
guess
person,
it goes back to like that idea of whether, like, how much you put up with in a relationship realistically, because like it can be the right person, but like it's just loads of like obstacles. So like, how many of those obstacles do you put up with? But then also with the right person, would you have those obstacles, and would they be obstacles? I don't know. This is like the philosophy of breakups.
Yeah, but then again, like, with long distance, like, it's kind of confusing because you're in a perfect situation to argue for right person, wrong time. Like, the distance wasn't even, you know what I mean? Like, it couldn't even have necessarily like led to the breakup, because you could have seen each other and stuff, but then COVID, and then you couldn't see each other, and then, you know, other stuff that it's like all of that was all because of the time that it was kind of happening. Like, you could argue that in a timeline where COVID didn't happen, maybe like you'd still be together and stuff, you know what I mean? So I do kind of
I see both sides. I think people use right person wrong time as like an excuse, but it is also like genuinely a reason to break up. So I don't know, it's a tricky one. I think it depends how you use the reason of right person wrong time. Like, maybe you're just lying to yourself sneakily, like, oh, it's the right person wrong time, but it's not actually that. Whereas I feel like with me, yeah, it could have been like different if stuff hadn't been happening. Like, if it was just a normal world where like COVID didn't exist, then you know, maybe things could have been different. Oh, that's kind of what the video was saying, is like saying that it's the right person wrong time gives the person like hope to think there will be a right time in future. So then that's even more like fucked up to say that after a breakup, which I do get, and I did say that after I broke up with my boyfriend, but sometimes it's just, you just have to say it, you know, because otherwise I would rather say that than like have someone think I just don't like them at all and hate them. Yeah,
it is partly true, but I do see how it can be used as an excuse.
Okay. And then we have some longer ones, so we're excited to get into these. So this person says, I was at my first boyfriend's house when he started throwing things at me when I told him I wanted to break up with him, and then literally didn't accept what I was saying, and he was laughing to himself as if I had said a funny joke. I went to leave and he chased me down the driveway, wouldn't let me close the car door, which was actually kind of scary. Then I managed to pry the door off him. He just stood in front of my car so that I would basically have to hit him if I started driving. We then waited it out until it started raining and he went inside and I left. I did this at the end of sixth form before uni, so I didn't have to see him again, except he applied for the same uni course as me and I didn't know this, so now I have a crazy ex that I used to see nearly every day throughout uni because he followed me to Bristol.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
That's wild.
That is horrible.
That is wild.
I did not know shit like that. Well, I mean, I kind of did know shit like that actually happened, but it literally sounds like a fucking like music video or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, like the bit where they're like, oh, he wouldn't let me close the car door. Like, was the bit before that not scary? Like, it all sounds scary.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. I'd be so scared.
Yeah, this sounds so traumatic. I can't believe they followed you to Bristol. Like, that's not okay.
Oh my god, that's horrible. Let's find this guy.
Yeah, no. Let's find him. I'm actually serious. We're gonna, like, protect our listeners. Imagine going through that and then having to see them every day.
Yeah, that's
in your
horrible.
Course when you like thought you were gonna get away.
Literally, what is wrong with that guy?
I have no idea. That's fucked up.
Okay, second one. Okay, so they met their boyfriend in first year, and they say he was such a romanticist and wrote plays and wrote one about me, lol. Anyway, he was quite dramatic and thought everything had a lot of meaning, etc, etc. He probably started fancying this other girl that we were all friends with, so I asked him and he lied to me about it. I trusted him. Then another night we were at the pub and she was there again and he was telling her all this information about a secret play he was writing that he wouldn't dare tell me. So I got upset and took him aside and asked why he wanted to tell her everything but not me. He said he trusts her, not me, and that she is way more pretty than I'll ever be. Then said that I should mind my own business. The next day I broke up with him, and then the day after I saw him kissing her in the pub again. We all visited the same pub frequently. It really upset me, obviously. He was such a nice person, but a virgin and hadn't had a girlfriend before. So I showered him in compliments and wanted to emotionally support him and help him with his confidence, but I guess that got to his head. Lol. The fuck? What a dick. Imagine someone like literally saying, oh, she's so much prettier than you'll ever be. What the fuck?
What's wrong with
I'd
you?
literally slap him.
I'd spit in his face.
That's so mean. Oh yeah.
That's like my go-to like anger response.
I don't know, it really says you're scum. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What is wrong with these people? Like, ugh. Anyway, glad you got out of that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. The next one, there's Guy A and Guy B. We're like censoring out the names just for privacy. So originally I went on Tinder and found someone because I fancied Guy A. And he fancied me, but we didn't think each other did. And Guy A got a girlfriend, so I got a boyfriend because I felt sad. I really liked Guy A then. Anyway, this guy, Guy B, from Tinder, was nice and thought I was a goddess. It made me feel amazing. I think he had quite a lot of arrogance and overconfidence that slowly leaked out and kind of showed itself as an enemy to me. He didn't like when I was better than him at something. He was also really emotional. In the end, we just broke up because it got too intense. I felt like I was giving so much and his narcissism was eating it all. And so Guy A came back and I was like, just tell him that you fancy him. So I did, and here we are. But during that time when it happened, my ex, Guy B, knew I wanted to go to Berlin after uni. He also knew about Guy A as a friend. I had blocked him on his account on Instagram and he kept making new accounts to DM me and say that Guy A is nothing and that he knows we are meant to be and he will go to Berlin so we can be together like how it's meant to be. Basically mildly crazy and wants to follow me. He actually didn't leave me alone for 5 months after I started going out with Guy A and it felt like harassment.
Oh my god, what are these guys like stalking? Like, why are they all obsessed with stalking?
Yeah.
Leave the girl alone.
Yeah, just get the message. Yeah, I'm so sorry that all of you went through those things. Like, they sound traumatic, all of them. And obviously there's not really like a good way to break up with someone or to like be broken up with. But like, even if you don't relate to those things, just know, like, if someone breaks up with you, you have to take it. Like, you can't just be like, no, and then just ruin their lives. You have to actually listen to what they're saying because it's like, why are you forcing someone to date you? They don't want to date you. They broke up with you.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. It's just a waste of your time and you're just like ruining their lives. So leave them alone.
Yeah. It's a little piece of advice I wish I could give my 17-year-old self. Definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it, like, I mean, even from we're not even trying to bash you. Like, I am one of those people that just needs to leave people alone. You know what I mean? It is just going to save you heartache. I promise. Like, you do not need to be putting yourself through this.
It's such a waste of energy.
Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for sending your stories.
We really appreciate you putting your trauma out there for us to feel less alone, you know.
Okay, well, let's move on to the actual episode.
We were kind of saying like, oh, how should we like, what can we really talk about? Like, what do we want to say? And we were kind of thinking like, well, realistically, like, it's kind of broken down into sort of like the build up, the actual breakup, and then like the aftermath of the breakup. Yeah. And also because me and Maria have like experienced breakups in very different ways. Like, we always say I break up with people and Maria gets broken up with. So I think we can like kind of say both sides, and we're gonna have a little debate that is like our lifelong debate of whether it's better to be broken up with or to break up with. Guess we'll find out. Stay tuned. Anyway, let's get into it. So, when do you think, because I've heard that people realize they're gonna break up with someone 6 months, or like, it's not 6 months obviously because you might not be together with someone for longer than 6 months, but it's like
you realize way before you do it, and then it's like a slow descent from there. So do you think that's true?
I mean, this is why I think it's like kind of weird to have like the two perspectives, because and to me it's like I don't get how you would know 6 months in advance that someone's gonna break up with you. Like that's kind of like how I see it automatically. Not that like, oh, I'd know 6 months before that I would break up with them. I think in instances where I've like sort of ended things with people, that I've never really like had a breakup in like in a serious relationship, but I've like ended things with people that I've been seeing and stuff. I have known for a while before it's gonna happen. Like it's not that I just like woke up that morning and was like, yeah, I think I'll end it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm over this. But
exactly.
I think when I've been in the other end of the coin, it's sort of like, it was just, well, I don't know, at least with my most significant breakup, which was with my ex-girlfriend, I had no idea up until like literally the day before. It was so out of the blue. And then the day before I knew, and then in that moment when I knew, you know what I mean? But like, it was so like 180.
Yeah, I think it's difficult as well because I had this conversation with my ex where he was like, obviously the process has been very different for you, and like him as the, well, obviously I broke up with him, that's kind of why we're coming at it from this angle of like he didn't see it coming, whereas obviously in my head I had the idea there, not for 6 months, although we did break up for like less than a day in like June last year. But that wasn't like I don't think that was the beginning of the end, and I've thought a lot about whether that was the beginning of the end, but I don't think it was. And then for him feeling like he was like blindsided or whatever, even though I do think there were signs, but obviously I can't say what it's like to be on the other end of it. So
yeah,
it's weird how people perceive it so differently.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do think that even in my situation, and I'm not saying in every single blindsiding situation, because I do believe that like there are some people that literally just up and leave out of fucking nowhere, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I know those things definitely do happen. I haven't, like, I wouldn't say I've experienced that. I think with my relationship, it was very much like we were completely fine the day before. Like, I remember I went to babysit somewhere. Literally that night she called me and she was like saying all these nice things to me, and literally the next day it was like a switch, and like and that's what I mean by I was blindsided. But I think now that I look, like, as in later on, even not even now with hindsight, like a few like weeks later, a few days later, I feel like I could have kind of been like, yeah, well, I mean, there were sort
it was kind of coming.
Yeah, there were like all these signs pointing towards that being like, that's gonna happen eventually, you know what I mean? And even if the reason, because also the reason was very like weird, like not weird, but like unusual, I guess. It doesn't happen to that many people.
Yeah.
That they date someone and then after a year they're like, oh, I'm actually not sexually attracted to people of your gender.
Yeah.
I think that was also like a hard thing to see signs for, but because it was such a peculiar situation. But she had been saying things that I think I just didn't really want to like listen to, and I think a lot of the time this is the case for the people that are like being broken up with, that there are all these signs. She always said things like, oh yeah, like I'm not gay, but like yes, for Maria, I am for Maria, you know what I mean? And all these things that is like, in the moment I hit, like, you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, but like they love me so much that doesn't matter, and like that will never change, you know what I mean? But I think when people are saying these things, like, we should listen rather than kind of try to like,
it's so true.
Google translate it to the thing that you want to be hearing.
Yeah, so do you think people are like predetermined to be the breaker up and the breakup-y? Do you think the breakup-y is always like the optimist and the breaker-upper is always the cynicist? Because you're always like making excuses for it.
I genuinely think it has a lot to do with attachment styles, for sure, because I think that like I've noticed just from like learning about it and just observing things around me and my behaviors and sort of like people I know, it just sort of all boils down to like, if I'm in a relationship, I will just like, no matter what happens with that person, like it doesn't matter if I'm really unhappy, like I will just probably like not break up with them. And I think it literally just comes down to like my attachment style and like this fear of abandonment kind of thing, and all of that. But
yeah, I guess. Ugh, it's so annoying that that's true, but it really is, because like obviously avoidant attachment styles, like it's your fight or flight.
Exactly.
You're just like, okay, bye, I'm out of here.
Whereas like I'll always want to work through it. I feel like people that are anxiously attached will always try to like work through it.
No, yeah, well, I guess to kind of like give an example of that, I think I can cite the like breakup last year with my boyfriend, who I then broke up with recently, because it's not as fresh, I don't think. But in terms of like being blindsided or making excuses, the reason that I like broke up with him or considered breaking up with him at that point was because of Corona. And like he wasn't taking it seriously, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, like when we started it, because I'm pretty sure it happened like around the time we started the podcast, of him just like going out, doing what he wanted, and like just not really thinking about anyone else, like not really caring. And I was like, this is just not the kind of person I want to be with. And I kept saying like, it wasn't like an ultimatum, but I guess it kind of was in the end. Like, I don't think that's how I meant it at the time, but I guess that is kind of how I was thinking about it in my head. It was just like, I don't want to be with someone that I know just doesn't care about other people. And like, I knew if he got it, it would be a big deal for him, but he didn't care that he was spreading it to other people. And I know that's a very like, not to throw all Americans under the bus, but like that is a very American kind of mindset. And I was like, that was when I really noticed the differences in like our cultural upbringing or whatever. So yeah, I kept saying that to him for like months and months, and he just wasn't listening. And then when I actually broke up with him, he was like, oh, I just never really thought you would actually break up with me because of it, even though I had literally explicitly said like, I can't deal with this anymore, like I don't want to date someone. Like what else does that really mean? But it's like, you will just keep excusing it because in your head you're like, oh, but they won't break up with me because of that, like it's fine, you know. So it's like having that, I guess it is an attachment style thing, like having that hope that like they won't abandon you, or maybe it is a fear, but I don't know, to me it seems more optimistic.
No, I get what you mean. I do think it's also more optimistic. I think the way that I see it, it's more like we love each other so much that no matter what, it will be okay.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I've said many times, I think a lot of time like love is just not enough. But have you never been, has no one ever ended anything with you, like not even something like a bit more casual?
No,
that's crazy.
Not once.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, like, have you ever kind of had like an inkling, like from the breakup-y or
no, that's the thing, because this is what I'm saying is why it's so difficult, because I'm so aware of the fact that, let's kind of start with this whole attachment style thing, is that's the problem with attachment styles, is avoidant people are drawn to anxiously attached people. So a lot of the time, even if I haven't been like in things with anxiously attached people, they might be like completely secure, but I just don't know because I'm avoidant and like that's all I have going on in my head. So to me, like their side seems so much more optimistic, and you can like feel that love, and that's why it's so difficult from my perspective to like have to break up with them, because you know that you can't deal with it in your head, but for them it's something that they would never break up with you because of. And that's like so heartbreaking, knowing that you have to be the one to like do something about it, because like you can't live with that, but you might think that they think, or believe that they can live with it, but actually it's not like beneficial to the relationship if one of you isn't like living the best like relationship they could be, you know?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, even in like small things I've been in, or like when I was dating this guy when I was like 12 for literally like 6 weeks, we didn't talk the whole time. It wasn't a relationship by any means. Like, we literally texted on Facebook maybe like once a day or like every other day, and I broke up with him. But like, I guess I just kind of continued on that trail, because like, even when I've been sleeping with people, I'm like, oh no, I'm not into it or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of bad.
Yeah. I think it, well, I don't know, it's kind of just got me thinking that it must also have to do with self-worth. You're just more likely to stick it out and like want to stay, and someone that has better self-worth or whatever will like be like, oh no, I don't deserve this, like this isn't making me happy, kind of thing. So I think that's definitely been a factor for me in being the broken up with person.
I guess so. Yeah, but I think that's also been a factor for me being the breaker-upper, because I think I've excused so much because I don't want to break up with them, knowing that I will have to break up with them eventually, because that is just like how I'm wired. I don't know. I think I've accepted like that will always be my fate, and I will be the one that has to break up with them, but I will just keep putting it off because I don't want to do it. And it's like so horrible to have to like be put in that position of like, oh, you like love someone a lot and you care about them a lot, but like it's just not working out. It's shit. But I also really envy, like, I just don't think there's such thing as a clean breakup. Like, it's never as easy as you just break up and you just never talk again, and then that's that, and you both move on with your lives. Like, if I ever witness that, I will be truly shocked.
I kind of do think that there is such a thing as clean breakups. Like, I don't think that we are old enough or mature enough in our lives right now for that to happen. Or maybe we are, realistically.
Yeah, no, I do. It's not that I don't think that they're real. I'm sure they are real. But, like, I just haven't witnessed that
I haven't
happening,
witnessed it
you know?
personally either, to be honest. In terms of the build-up, though, are there do you have any kind of like things that you can point at that you were like, yeah, these kinds of things were what like kind of started making me think that that's the direction that we should head in, realistically, like as the breaker-upper, like what drives you towards that decision?
Yeah, this is why I was kind of asking you about the time scale thing, because even though I don't think when we broke up before was like the beginning of the end, I think when you start to like be conscious, like once you get through the honeymoon period and you start being very aware of like the issues in your relationship and having to work through those, I kind of think it's only a matter of time before you have to make a decision. Am I going to work through these problems, and like, am I going to be happy to just like put these to the side for the rest of my life?
Wow.
I mean, that's an extreme example. Or is this something that could potentially break us up in the future? And it's only a matter of time before you figure that out.
So you think it starts like, so basically as soon as like the flaws come out, that's like when the decision is pretty much starts to be made?
No. I don't think that's when the decision is made. I think that is a contributing factor to your decision, in that if the problem continues, it might just continue forever. If it's sort of a problem, but it's like, it's not a big deal, then maybe it's fine. But if it's like something you can't ignore, that's the thing. And like, that was kind of the case in my relationship. It wasn't like a character flaw with any of us by like any means. Not that there weren't like things that we clashed on in terms of our character, because there definitely were, but like, it was more the distance between us, and like, it was just like is not a problem that could be solved in my mind. So that was the problem, and that was like the deciding factor. So that's what I'm saying, is like, if it's something that's like very concrete, very real, I think as soon as that like rears its head in the beginning, and I remember this very specific moment that that problem started in my relationship, which is like literally maybe 2 or 3 weeks before lockdown started. I called my boyfriend crying, being like, there's a pandemic and like nothing's gonna be like, because I was meant to go to America, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to come, they're gonna shut down international travel, and then we're gonna go into a lockdown, like basically predicted everything that was gonna happen, and was just like freaking out about it. And I was like, we're not gonna be able to see each other for 6 months, we already haven't seen each other for 3 months, and now like, what are we gonna do? Basically everything is ruined. Like, that is something. And maybe I kind of willed it into existence with like my own anxiety about it. But I remember, and that's not saying that like from then on everything in our relationship was bad. I just remember like that was like such a heavy thing in my mind, and like ultimately that is like kind of the reason we broke up, because like I just couldn't deal with that fact that like we were 5,000 miles away from each other. So
yeah, but since that was like quite early on, I don't think that like in that moment, well, you kind of just said it's not that everything went bad or anything, but later on in the relationship, like when you kind of like made the decision, do you ever remember having like, did anything sort of like switch in the relationship, you know what I mean? Like did you have sort of like a moment of like, okay, now that I know this, so like everything's just tinted a little bit grey, I don't know.
yeah. No, something happened, and I don't want to go into it because I know he doesn't want me to talk about it, but like basically we couldn't be in the same country together. Like something happened, and from then on, like the disappointment from that moment kind of tinged our relationship, and like we couldn't have a conversation without like trying to figure out how we could fix that, or like trying to make the conversation happy, or trying to make it like not us both feeling miserable. And I just remember being like, I don't think anything is like ever going to be the same again. Like we're never going to be able to have like a normal conversation again.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of kind of my point though. I think that like to you it was so obvious, and like you literally even straight up like said like things have changed, and he still at the breakup was still like, and I'm not bashing him at all, I'm just saying like as in from like the two types of people that we're kind of trying to establish here, he's like still felt blindsided.
And it's because he said to me, the reason we broke up, that wouldn't be a reason he would break up with someone, and he didn't want that to be the reason that we broke up. But for me, I was like, this is the only reason we would break up. Everything else we could work through, but this we can't do anything about. So this is the only logical thing. I don't know, maybe that is just even a sign of like a fundamental flaw in the relationship, that you're not both like completely on the same page and one of you feels blindsided, because like surely if both of you felt the same thing, then like it would be fine, you could work through it, you were kind of in it together. But then it's because like it's like that trickery of thinking you're in it together, but really you're not. Like one of you is thinking something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of remembering like in my first relationship we sort of broke up. We didn't break up even for like it was just like a second, and then I like talked her out of it basically. But it was this huge night when we were just like, it was just crying, and it was this whole thing, and like in the end like it was fine or whatever. But I think that like the whole relationship I was so like I just accepted that I was like miserable part of the time. Do you know what I mean? Like I just kind of like knew that that's just the way it was, because I just thought that like that's what it was to love someone.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent I still feel that. I think like even when there's like all this pain, I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't matter because like I love them, as I literally said at the start. So I think that it's not so much a blindsiding. It's more like a, yeah, I think it's like sort of, I thought we were on the same page when we weren't.
Yeah, like I thought we loved each other enough for this to not be an issue, but that's not really how things work. It's not like the reason you break up is because you don't love them and that's why that thing isn't like enough. It's more like, I don't know, I get what you mean about it being a self-esteem thing, but I don't think it necessarily is.
Yeah, well, I think there's like obviously I think a lot of play, because relationships are obviously like really complicated, and it's very much about like the two mix of the people and what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think in terms of, well, just to put like sort of the build up thing to bed, it's quite interesting to me to hear, to like be your best friend and sort of like know like breakups that you've gone through, and sort of this whole like, oh, I kind of want to end it, like it's not going well or whatever, but like I can't, and like sort of like the pain of having to break up with someone, because to me it's just kind of like, yeah, well, fuck you. Like you just feel sort of betrayed, and like it's like a lie when it's obviously not. It's just, I think that you're so like blind to it by love sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the people who see breaker-uppers think that it's just like this stone cold, like hard decision that they've just automatically woken up one day and come to. But in reality, it's like weeks of back and forth. Should I do this? Is this the right choice? Oh, but I love him. Oh, but I can't do that to him. Oh, this will be so painful for both of us. Which is the better alternative? We're miserable together or we're miserable apart, you know? So yeah. Humanize the breaker-uppers. So I guess let's move on from the build-up and let's talk about the actual breakup. Do you think there's a good way to be broken up with?
I don't really know if there's a good way to be broken up with, but I think probably like face to face, have a little conversation. I would probably appreciate that the most. I've never been, actually my first breakup ever actually with my ex for the first time, because we dated twice. Once when we were like 14. Well, we weren't 14, we were like 15, but that was kind of like a fake little run of our relationship. But she broke up with me during over text, and that wasn't really very nice. So I was really heartbroken. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe like I do think, as I said before, that there can be like good breakups that like both people kind of they both kind of got to that conclusion. I think what a good breakup would look like would probably be a few conversations, not just like that one conversation in which like, so then both people would be on the same page, like all these things that we've been saying. So yeah, I mean, I do think that would probably be like the best way to break up with someone, like a few conversations, they know what's going on, like you haven't just sort of like made this decision and then that's that. And I do know that obviously a lot of the time like that has to be the way it is, but I think in a healthy situation that would probably be the best case scenario for me.
What would that conversation be like? Like, I'm thinking about breaking up with you.
Well,
or like this isn't working.
Yeah, well, what I mean by like there would be a lot of conversation is that I'm guessing like the conversation probably wouldn't just be like, oh, we should just break up, and then you'd be like, oh, what? You know what I mean? I think it would probably look a little bit more like, hey, like you've been having problems, so I don't know, you've been talking about this certain issue and this certain issue, and kind of trying to come up with solutions or a way to compromise or blah blah blah. And then so I think maybe the final conversation, or like, I mean, it doesn't have to be it's not you, it's me kind of thing, but I think as long as you're sort of like respectful of the relationship and respectful of the person.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, I think, not to like go back to the build up bit, but in my mind that's kind of like not that we had conversations like, this isn't working, what can we do? But in my mind, the build up was like the conversations of trying to fix the thing that was the reason I broke up with him. So in my mind, those were very clear signs of like, this isn't going well. But obviously that didn't translate, and also I'm not the best at like voicing how I actually specifically feel. So, but yeah, you're like totally right. It should be, this is how I feel, this is why, and like, then that is not so much a surprise that it just like comes out of nowhere.
I mean, but I do think that in the scenario I was kind of saying, it's a very much like mutual thing, because I do think that, as you were saying, like, I think those conversations were those negotiating conversations. Yeah. And then kind of when that didn't happen, you sort of, okay, then how do I then, okay, I've decided that this isn't happening, like, it's not getting better, it's not working, so then how do I sort of break it to this person that it doesn't necessarily want that same thing, that I'm kind of done? And yeah, I guess what are the best, like, what do you say, like, what
yeah, how do you word it? Obviously text is like the lowest way you could possibly do it, and I broke up with my ex-girlfriend over text, I'm pretty sure, but that was like a whole other situation that I don't think I could have done in person.
Yeah, I've actually, from someone else that has been sort of in like a toxic kind of situation, he also said, I broke up with her over text, and like that's the only way it could have worked, because we tried to break up, and every time that we would see each other, like, we would just go back into it, and the only way it would have worked was text. So that's what I'm saying, like, I do understand that there are situations that it's like, this is the best way. Both of the time, like, 2 times that I've broken up with people, they've just been like really, really high. So it was like a really good experience.
Just softened the blow.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not actually saying this as advice. I just feel like it's actually quite funny, because they were quite pleasant breaking up situations, to be honest.
Yeah, because they're basically like sedated.
I have to stop dating guys that smoke weed.
Like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But okay, so
sorry.
Other good ways.
This is really hard, because every situation is different.
Yeah, it's so difficult to have the conversation before, because then it's like the build up of like, oh, is it gonna happen or is it not? So it is kind of like you should maybe just rip the band-aid off kind of situation.
I think it is. Like, I feel like I'm not very good at sort of like, if I feel a certain way, I just can't really hide it. And like, that's why I also don't think that if I was the breaker-upper, like, I personally don't think I would drag it out that long, because I just don't think I could like keep it up. Like, I just feel like I would have to say something. And I think, at least with like one of these boys, I kind of did say something. I kind of like stated my boundaries and whatever, and then he kind of didn't want the same thing, and then I kind of just left that as like, okay, well, whatever, we'll just like keep seeing what's happening, even though I fully knew we didn't want the same things. And then I just kind of kept fucking him about, instead of just like being honest. And as long as you're just being honest with like what you actually want, and not trying to just like mess people about, then that's just the best way. Because I also would not want someone to not break up with me if they like wanted to, you know what I mean, and they're just like, oh, I don't know how to do it. That's like literally my worst nightmare. Yeah,
because then you're like, was the last like little bit just a lie?
Exactly. Like, literally, that was like, oh, it's like literally my biggest fear. Remember one time we went on holiday, and we were both in our first relationships, and you told me that my girlfriend had said something like, yeah, I'm so scared that like, what if I want to break up with Maria, I'd just be so scared to do it because she'd just like have a mental breakdown. Remember how you told me that? And like, I was traumatized
Oh,
because I was
no.
like, okay, so now she's literally never gonna break up with me if she wants to, and like she's just literally gonna hate me, and the whole time like she basically just hates me now. She just like doesn't want to be with me, and like now it's like it's such a fear of mine that like,
Yeah, that's so
and I
bad.
see like I completely understand why someone would like think like say that about me, because like I feel like I do.
Why did I tell you that? That was not a good idea. That was just like me trying to be a helpful friend, but like actually fucking
No,
everything up.
no, I'm glad you told me that. Like, why would she say that?
True, why would she say that to me as well? Like, obviously, I'm gonna tell you. Maybe that was her plan. I mean, she's listening to this, so she can confirm.
But I think definitely rip the band-aid, because I would personally not want to be dragged along, and I don't think anyone
Yeah.
would.
It's
So
so
it is
bad.
just a rip the band-aid.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is like with this breakup that we did break up in December. That's when I was like, I want to break up. But before, like in that conversation, we had a whole conversation before of like, I feel this way and I'm so miserable and I can't live like this anymore. Not that dramatic, but like I can't deal with this. It's just too much for me, and like my heart is so heavy all the time and I just feel anxious all the time. And then I broke up with him. But it was like kind of me willing myself to say the words like, tell him you want to break up.
Mm.
And then there was a whole aftermath of that. But then me realizing I still loved him, because we had all of these like conversations kind of afterwards where I was like, I just love this person so much that I wasn't like ready to let it go. But then ultimately the problem hadn't really changed. So then after like a month of things like of us like not being together, but like it was still kind of like, oh, I don't know. Even though we were officially broken up, I then had to kind of be like not do it again, because he kind of just asked me a question and I didn't really go into the conversation being like, oh, I like this is like the end and I can't do this anymore. It kind of just happened that like he asked me a question and I was like, it's just so difficult and like I'm really struggling. And then he was like, so that's kind of the end then, like that's kind of it. And like, what can you say to that? You can't be like, no, because then that is like, he already thought that I was dragging him along. So then it's like, I don't know. It's just like the indecision is so shit for both people, because, and that's why it does just have to be like a rip the band-aid off kind of situation, because otherwise it just leads to so much more hurt, I think, and like it just seems so much more deceitful, even though like, as we were saying, even if you're not like indecisive and you do just break up with someone, you've obviously been thinking that for a while, so that the person who's been broken up with will still kind of look back on it and be like, so how long have you been thinking about this? Like, surely that's what I would do.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't really know, because I've only really been like properly like broken up with once, and like that wasn't a case of. I mean, I did think about that.
Yeah.
No, actually, I was just thinking, weird little thing, like the only breakup that I was like crying in was like the time when I broke up with when me and my boyfriend broke up. I didn't cry when me and my ex broke up. I remember I was really calm.
Yeah, you were so weirdly calm. I was like, fuck, what is going on? Like, I remember we were all sitting together and no one was crying, and I was like, this is wrong. This is very,
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I get very emotional, but then like in the moment I'm like, okay, you have to just like make it work, make it happen. Because I think also like when my ex was breaking up with me, I was like, okay, how am I going to convince her to not do this? Which is so bad.
Yeah.
Like, why don't try to convince someone to stay with you?
Yeah, but it's not like a rational thing
Yeah,
in the
obviously, I
moment.
know.
But I guess maybe the calmness is like because you had that sign like the day before. So then it was kind of in
Yeah.
your head, and then it's that thing of like when it does actually happen, like you're super anxious about something, and then when the thing that you're anxious about happens, then it's like, okay, I was right. So then you have like
Yeah.
calmness of being right, which weirdly like
Yeah,
supersedes the
exactly.
other
Because no, I was
stuff.
actually crying like that whole day up until we had that conversation, and then I just stopped. It was
Yeah.
so weird. I don't know. I feel like I just
Yeah.
had to like shut down.
Mm.
Oh wow, should we get onto the aftermath, the heartbreak? Because I'm just remembering those good old
Let's just
times
go.
after that.
Yeah, I think we should clarify this isn't going to be like a how to get over a breakup, because I don't think either of us have any answers about that one. Like, we don't know. We're not the people to ask. Maybe we'll have a professional on who does know, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Okay, so the big question, which we have done a whole episode on already, called Can You Be Friends with an Ex? Go check it out if you're curious. Obviously, my whole opinion has now changed.
So, honey, tell us, what is this radical opinion change?
Well, it's not so much like a solid yes or a solid no,
Mm.
because I think I have always been of the opinion like, yes, you should be, not you should be, but like you could definitely can't be friends with an ex, and that's something I will hopefully always strive towards.
Mm.
But it is that thing of you just can't force it to happen. I think the way that like I went wrong with this breakup is like I said straight away I want to be friends, not meaning we have to be friends right now, just I want to be friends in the future is what I meant, but I probably left out those last three words, knowing me.
Whoops.
Whoopsies. And that, I think that caused a lot of confusion because he hated me. He really hated me for a bit. So obviously me saying I want to be friends kind of sounds like I am ready to be friends and I'm over this already and I can already be friends, but obviously that's not how I feel, and I still don't think like 3 months later that we're at a point where we can be friends, because you both have to be on the same page to be friends, and that's just not where we're at. And you both have to be like somewhat over it, or like not be super like hurt by it still. And I think things can get really misconstrued in terms of you think you're ready to be their friend, but then actually you're using that friendship as an excuse to like latch on to some hope that like they'll be so happy being friends with you that they'll want to get back together and they'll realize how great everything is and blah 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 blah, and you're trying to be your best self all the time to be their friend, but actually you're just like putting all this energy into the friendship that is like really just hurting you even more. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that's like a pretty good description of Maria circa 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I think, do you talk depends on the breakup, because, like, for instance, this girl I dated, like, we broke up and we were talking after, like, it was all chill, just because we both, like, kind of knew that we just weren't gonna be together kind of thing, but we were chill with it kind of thing. So I think that it always
But
depends.
you
And
weren't
like,
in love.
oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think like if it's like a casual sort of like you're not in love like kind of thing, I think like there's no harm in talking
Yeah.
afterwards. So yeah, I completely co-sign what you said. I mean, I've been there, like staying friends and just like being on your best behavior and doing everything to just basically like convince them to be in love with you again, and it's really harmful, and it's just like such a waste of time, such a waste of emotions, like so much sadness and so much like unnecessary feeling of rejection that I don't want to go over again in my life.
Yeah. It's also so difficult because you don't want to say you're not going to be friends straight away and then risk never getting to that place and never talking.
Yeah, that's
at
what
all.
I was so afraid of. I was so scared that if we weren't friends straight away, that like she would just move on with her life and like not want me in it anymore. And oh my god, I'm like actually terrified because like if me and my boyfriend break up, like I don't know I mean, I'm chatting all the shit, but I know I'm like straight away gonna be like, okay, we're besties still though, like it's fine. Because I just cannot like think of not having them in my life, which I completely understand why it's so difficult. But that's why I think number one thing, like, I have to stick in my head with in my next breakup, block them on everything, like just genuinely for a while try to not come into contact in any way, shape or form, because otherwise it's just gonna hurt for longer.
Yeah, and you have to be ready. It can't be on the other person's terms. But I also think it's so hard to like rationalize that and be like, okay, I'm ready now, because as we said, you're probably just lying to yourself.
100%. But that's why I think like you just cannot have contact until like you are fully like you're done.
I know, I kind of agree, but it's also like I just don't think that's realistic, because then it's just like, what if we never talk again? Like, you've gone from all to nothing, which is so like, I feel like you need a little downward slope and then an upward slope back to friendship. We'll make a little graph so you guys can visualize what I'm talking about.
The thing is, like, I'm speaking very rationally right now, but like
nothing about breakups is rational.
Yeah, I know in the moment I like it's all just gonna go to shit, and it's like I know it's so painful and you just want to talk to them and all these things. So I mean, it all goes to shit, but the honest, sane advice is just don't be friends, don't talk to them for a bit, and then you probably will be able to be great friends.
Yeah, and then you can try it. But my next big question is, can you be friends with your ex if you were never friends before you dated?
I don't know, I really just do think you can, because I do think in a lot of ways, like, your partner is your friend. So, and like, surely, if you can't be friends with someone, surely you don't like them. So, like, I get that intimacy with, like, relationships is different than, like, the intimacy in friendships. And we always say, like, there are standards we hold for our friends. Like, all of these things, like, I do understand there's very different layers. And, like, yeah, maybe, like, if you know them only at that level, like, can you really go back to knowing them in a lower quote unquote level? I don't know, but I do think you can. Like, I don't see why not, because you clearly like them as a person.
Why are you dating them realistically if you wouldn't be their friend? That's what I'm really interested in. What is the psychology behind that? I don't know. We'll find out. Stay tuned for an episode about it.
What about when you're allowed to sort of sleep with someone else? Like, when's it, and like moving on and stuff, like when's it okay to, you know, have moved on, and this whole like winning the breakup bullshit. Oh my god,
that's
when me
bullshit.
And my ex were together, we always said that I'd be the first to get into a relationship if we broke up, just because I'm such a relationship person. But then she was the one that started like getting with people and stuff first, and that actually traumatized me slightly. I think she moved on slightly, and by slightly I mean way too quickly, because the guy that basically like catalyzed our breakup, she got with him like a week later. How cold-blooded is that? And we were together for a year.
That is savage.
It was actually savage. Remember, like, I found out and I like ran out of my lesson in my break, and I was like, and I just like hugged you in the cafe, and I was like crying.
Oh, I felt like you were like my child in that moment. Like, I literally, my heart, like, I think my heart, like, this is gonna sound so gay, but like, my heart like learned a new like level of empathy and love in that moment. Like, I was so sad for you.
But yeah, and she also like shagged someone before. Oh my god, when she like lost her straight virginity, that kind of hit.
Yeah,
because this is also another problem. We were friends, so like, oh my god, okay, she didn't tell me about getting with that guy. I found out from someone else. But the virginity thing, that's when we were like all like friends again, and we would like talk about like the stuff we were up to, and like she was obviously like seeing people, and I would just pretend like I was just so chill with it, and then she hits me with this like, oh yeah, I had sex with a guy, and I was like, fuck, That hurts so bad.
No. I think it's okay. You can do it whenever you're ready to do it, as long as you don't tell them. I don't think you should ever disclose that information and then after a while you just assume that it's happened. I don't want to know. I really... I don't know. I said this to you the other day, is that like I feel like a new milestone in my breakup experience has been like admitting to myself that I think I don't feel like completely sick by the idea of like my ex sleeping with someone. And that was like a big moment of realization.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
I would still be sad, but it doesn't make me want to throw up.
Yeah, I think a good way to tell like how over someone you are is like picture them fucking someone and like how much does that make you feel sick?
I mean, I don't necessarily want to picture it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay,
but no, I mean, it would still make me sad. Yeah, it would still, like, probably if it happened tomorrow and he told me, I would be sobbing to you on the phone. But it's not the same. Like, it was like kind of a shift from how I felt a while ago. And yeah, I just don't think you should tell them. Like, that's not information that's helpful to either of you. Like, why are you telling them?
Yeah.
What is the motive?
But I mean, more than like, I feel like people aren't out here telling them, but I just feel like this is also why you should block them. Like, not try to be like finding out info about what they're doing. Like, trust me, you just do not want to know. Like, you really just do not want to know.
It's one of those things like, don't go looking for it if you don't want to know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of low-key, like, I don't really wholeheartedly believe this because I also agree, like, do whatever the fuck you want and, like, do it in your own time. But, like, come on, just leave like, there has to be a courtesy period in which, like, depending on how long the relationship was and, or, like, how deep it was, like, come on, like, if me and my boyfriend broke up tomorrow and he gets with someone the next day, like... Are you joking? Like, so that meant our relationship meant that much to you, you little piece of shit.
Yeah, there should be like a legal like mourning period.
Yeah, legit. Like, if you dated like a month, like that's fine. You can, you know, no waiting period. If you dated like 3 months, just wait like a couple days. If you dated like a year upwards.
Days.
Yes!
For 3
I think
months.
3 months is nothing.
3 months you can fall in love.
Oh, that's true. Fine. Okay, like a week. I don't know. Okay, ideally, how long until your boyfriend can, like, you'd be fine with your boyfriend fucking someone or getting with someone?
I don't know. I think I'll regret answering that question, but I'm still gonna answer it. I think it goes back to that thing if you want to win the breakup and it's so fucked up, but obviously we all feel it. Like, I would be sad if he sleeps with someone before I sleep with someone.
Yeah, it is just like after I do, it's fine.
Yeah. But then also it's like now is kind of a reasonable time. Like, we have been broken up for like 3 months.
Mate, I think like
2.5 months.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. My only real understanding of heartbreak, like, it took me over a year to get over my ex, so I don't really have, like, good expectations for myself.
I think you have to know that they're over you and they're not still in love with you, because that's when it hurts. If you know they still love you and they slept with someone.
Oh, so true.
Then
so
you
true.
think they're doing it to spite you.
So
which
true.
they probably are.
Yeah, I feel like, you know... when my ex was sleeping with people, like, it stung more because I knew she really didn't give a fuck. Where it's like, if I would have done it, I feel like she would have just been like, what's she trying at? So, hun, is there anything, like, particular that you've noticed sort of, like, in a long distance breakup versus breakups you've gone through before? Because I feel like maybe the sort of day-to-day doesn't change. I don't know. Well, I don't know, because I don't know. I've never really been in, like, a proper long-distance relationship. Maybe you can, like, speak on that experience a bit.
Well, I think, obviously, it was very different with, like, my first relationship, because we went to school together, so, like, we had to see each other every day and that shit. And probably, like, an actual adult relationship, if you broke up, you wouldn't see each other every day, unless you live together and, like, you can't move out for whatever reason, but... yeah, so there's that. Like, you don't have to see them. But then in this relationship, obviously, like, there's literally no chance that I'll see him. Because he lives in a different continent. So unless I specifically went to that continent and then saw him, which is obviously not going to happen right now, or maybe ever, I just won't see him. But it was difficult, like, actually breaking up, because it was like the last time we saw each other was at the airport, and like I didn't know we were going to break up, and that was going to be the last time we saw each other. I think it would have been so nice to have like been able to see each other and like break up in person. I mean, not so nice, but like it would have been way better to break up in person and like have that closure. And then also, I guess, long distance, like the only way you can really be in contact is like over the phone. So then I think that's what's made being friends difficult, as it's like it is just kind of like talking over the phone, which is exactly what our relationship was like. And they also have the freedom to just like call you whenever they want, which is also the same as like a not long distance relationship. But yeah, it's kind of difficult because of that. And then also straight away, like after the breakup, it felt super weird because it was like nothing's really changed except now we don't call every night.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna ask, like without trying to sound like not diminishing the relationship or anything, because I know obviously like long distance relationships, it is more than just talking on the phone and all of those things, and like you do miss them, because even if you're just talking on the phone, like it is that you're talking and stuff like that. But did you feel almost like like I don't know, it kind of, to me it seems like you wouldn't have this sort of like missing them weight as much, because it's not like they're being like sort of removed from your life. They kind of weren't in your life, like in your life, you know what I mean? So have you like, is that a thing, or have you kind of felt the sort of like missing weight just as much
in the period where we were like not talking really, except like very occasional texts? I felt like guilty for not missing him more. I felt like such a relief, because it was like in my head a very negative build up to our breakup, and I was like so miserable that like when we didn't talk it was kind of a relief, and I was like, I felt like I could actually breathe and like not feel miserable. I mean, obviously I was still sad about the breakup, but that was like a different kind of sadness, not a like suffocating like I don't know what to do. This was more like clarity, and I felt guilty for like not missing him more. And then when we like actually started talking again, then I suddenly got hit with like this whole other wave of like sadness, I guess, because like we would like FaceTime. We FaceTimed like once, and then I really like, I think I got everything out. Like I just cried the whole time, and I didn't think I was going to cry, because when we weren't talking I was like completely fine, because there was like nothing there to like, obviously I still thought about it, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't the same as like a regular breakup, I guess. So yeah, then just like, I guess it's like seeing someone for the first time after you broke up with them, but this was just like over FaceTime. So then I just got all of these emotions, and like I like realized how much I had missed him and not really thought about it. But I also think that's like a testament again to my attachment style, is like just kind of pushing the feelings away and being like, oh, I'm fine. And like even you kept saying, oh, I'm like so surprised how like fine you are, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, just like living life, you know. But then anytime someone would actually ask me about it, I would like cry. So I guess it's just like being confronted with it.
Yeah. I mean, like another thing we kind of mentioned is like how someone's like your friend, like can become like your best friend, or like your main point of contact, and all of these things. And I think like like a huge thing for me, it would be sort of like my life would just look very different. And I think in a way like that's something like with long distance that, I don't know, to me it's just like seemed quite interesting, because it would be quite a different experience to me, because my life is so like intertwined and like day to day with my boyfriend.
I guess like the main thing as well is like being sad that I don't know if I'll ever see him again, like ever. Which is just weird.
So like sad.
That was really sad. But yeah, those are the differences, I would say. I think we've covered the main stages of the breakup.
Yeah, and we really would love to dive into more of the like different stages, even more like the sort of points that we've touched upon, because I know that was like it's quite complicated and there's a lot to unpack. So if you guys like would want to hear more specific things about breakups, like, or heartbreak, or you know, those kinds of things, or maybe like want to hear more about our experiences, or even have like stories that you guys have to share about the topic or whatever, like we're definitely we're all ears. So you can find us on Instagram at Sexless Podcast, or on Facebook at Sexless Podcast, or send us an email to sexlesspodcast@gmail.com, or visit our website, which is www.sexlesspodcast.com.
Yeah, and if you want to hear like any episode, like literally if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, can you guys unpack that more? We'll do another episode on it. Maybe we'll do an episode on heartbreak. We'll probably do an episode further down the line where I actually like talk about what happened and like why my long distance relationship ended, because I know everyone loves that long distance relationship content for some weird reason.
Yeah, for sure. Like, just let us know, guys, honestly.
Yeah, you can DM us as well. Just be like, guys, can you do this? We love when we get messages like that.
We actually love getting any kind of messages, pretty much.
Oh yeah, no, like literally the second we get anything, I text Maria being like, did you see what we just got?
Yeah, just like, please interact with us. Like, we clearly need it to keep ourselves like going.
Yeah, I need someone to like talk to me throughout the day, so I'm not thinking about like these existential crises in my life of when am I going to meet the person that I might end up having a baby with. So please just relieve me of some of that. And also please go leave us a review, because we love you guys. Also, we have a crowdfunder now. How crazy is that? So if you want to support the podcast, obviously no pressure, but if you want to donate some money, we can advertise more, we can make more merchandise, we can just make the overall experience better. So go donate. It's Sextras Podcast. The link is in our bio on our Instagram, or you can probably just search it. So yeah, but
is that it?
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye.